My name is Carlos Bofel. I'm a student at the University of Trinidad and today my ID number is 74010, and today I'm covering an engineering disaster entitled When the Sky Falls, and covering the walkway collapse of the Hyatt Regency Hotel. The construction of the 40-story Hyatt Regency Hotel in Kansas City began in May 1978, despite delays and setbacks, including an incident where 2,700 square feet of the roof collapsed. The hotel officially opened on July 1st, 1980. One of the distinct features of this hotel was its multi-story atrium. When you look up in the atrium in the hotel lobby, you would see three very beautiful, which was even considered engineering marvels, staircase running across from north to south on the second floor, third floor, and fourth floor, each stretching 120 feet, and its glass, concrete, and steel of each staircase weighed 64 tons, which is 64,000 pounds. The Hyatt Regency Hotel was a hotel used for many things. They had grand tea parties, concerts, and even formal banquets. But on the evening Friday, July 17, 1981, approximately 1,600 people gathered, which was a shortlisted night, in the atrium for a tea party dance at 7:05 p.m. The second level walkway had approximately 40 people, with more on the third, an additional 16 to 20 on the fourth floor. The fourth floor bridge was suspended directly over the second floor bridge, and the third floor bridge was offset several meters away from the others. Everyone was having a grand time, everybody drinking, socializing, just doing things normal, enjoying the ambience. A popping noise was heard moments before the fourth floor walkway dropped several inches, paused, and then fell completely onto the second floor walkway. Both walkway fell to the lobby floor. There were 114 immediate deaths at the scene and 219 injuries. The rescue operation at this walkway collapse in the Hyatt Regency Hotel at that point night lasted for 14 hours. Survivors were buried beneath steel, concrete, and glass, which the fire department jacks could move. It was like a bomb dropped on the Empire State Building on a black night. In the rescue appeal, volunteers brought jack torches, jackhammers, and concrete saws and generators from construction companies and suppliers. Cranes were brought in. For these cranes to be brought in, because one floor weighed 64 tons and stretched 120 meters long, 20 feet long. Cranes were brought in, and for these cranes to be bringing, they had to bomb the windows for the cranes to reach in so they can lift the heavy debris. One man named Joseph Wickler, a former chief of the Kansas City Emergency Medical System, directed the rescue efforts, establishing a makeshift morgue on the ground floor in the exhibition area, using the hotel driveway and the front lawn as a strategic area, and helping to organize the wounded by greatest to least medical need for care. There was an entire site to be moved. It was just eruption. You could just imagine yourself being there, hearing the noise and the pain and agony of the survivors who you know have to help. The challenge that the engineers face were getting these 64-ton steel and concrete bridges hoisted up in the air, giving it that extravagant look to fit the hotel as if it's floating. The fabricator Haven Steel looked at a concept drawing from the structural engineer Jack Gillum and Dan Duncan, and there was a problem. The second floor bridge was to be immediately under the fourth floor bridge, all connected by the same steel rods from the ceiling. The fabricator said that this may not be possible to erect in the field, and it would be a challenge for them to even find a long enough and strong enough rod of that length. The fabricator, William Ritchie, came up with an idea to terminate the rod at the 4th floor and then connect it from the 4th floor bridge and send it down to the 2nd floor bridge, keep the bridge suspended. So then we'll have one main rod coming down from the ceiling connecting the 4th floor bridge, and then the 2nd floor bridge now will now be connected to the 4th floor bridge at the bottom. He coming up with the idea, then brought up the idea to Dan Duncan. This idea proved fatal. This required the 4th floor beams to support both the 4th floor walkway and the underlying 2nd floor walkway dead weight. A total recipe for disaster. He then threw the idea to Dan Duncan, who responded and said, "Draw it up, I'll look at it in the office." William Ritchie drew up the idea and sent it in. When the idea was sent in, the technicians at Jack Gillam's associate going over the drawing noticed the change immediately. And they went to Dan Duncan and said, "There's a change." Dan then looked at them and said, "It's okay." No calculations were done, no variation of type of material were done, nothing was done, just a drawing was sent up. Dan Duncan expected the calculations to be reviewed and to be done by the structural engineers in the office. Even the architect, Herb Duncan, asked about the change and was given the okay by Dan Duncan. The bridges were erected and doomed for failure. True source of failure, why the bridges collapsed. There were no calculations done on the new idea for strength, nor material reviews for the tie rods on the 4th floor bridge, which snapped and gave way to stress issue. At the tea party, the connection spectacularly failed. The 4th floor and 2nd floor bridge plummeted to the atrium's floor. But these things could have been avoided. During construction, early October 1979, before the building had opened, the connections failed in the atrium. The building was unfinished at the time when the connections failed and all the atrium steel fell to the floor. As engineer in their field, with top positions and reputations on the line, this was their opportunity to review the construction and the strength of the bridge now on the lobby's hotel floor. Of course, the owner of the hotel was concerned, and overly concerned. He called up the engineers immediately and all the professionals. All the professionals were called up to a meeting, and Jack Gillam Association was instructed by the hotel owner and top engineers to recheck all the steel to steel connection in the building. All the steel connection in the building. Jack Gillam is the structural engineering company that was hired to do the work for the building. The architect at a later meeting gave all assurance that Jack Gillam Association had gone over the building specs, checked all connections and all specs of the building, and gave the okay for the finishing construction. Nothing was done. That was their opportunity to recheck the bridge's connection. This was their moment to be engineering heroes, but unprofessionalism struck the engineering rule again. At a court hearing, because somebody had to be held accountable. Why were the steel-to-steel connections not checked and specs of the building? They said they spot checked, but didn't hit the bridges and would have done more, but were not being paid. Engineers in top positions, a bridge now field, spot checked. They spot checked. Spot checking caused 114 lives and people injured. The engineers broke many laws in Kansas City, Missouri in terms of construction and contract agreements and were completely ignorant of this. They broke the trust of their contracts and even the public. Engineers employed by Jack D. Gillam and Associates who had approved the final drawing were found culpable of gross negligence, misconduct, and unprofessional conduct in the practice of engineering by the Missouri Board of Architects, Professional Engineers, and Land Surveyors. Even though they were acquitted of all crimes that they were initially charged with, they all lost their respective engineering license in the state of Missouri, Kansas, and Texas, and their membership with ASC was revoked. All throughout, the company of Jack D. Gillum and Associates were discharged of criminal negligence. It lost its license to be an engineering firm in the Missouri and Kansas. At least $140 million, which is equivalent to $386 million today, were awarded to victims and their families in both judgments and settlements in subsequent civil lawsuits, and large amounts of this money was from the Crown Center Corporation, a wholly owned subsidiary of Hallmark Cards, which was the owner of the hotel real estate. The hotel was renamed Hyatt Regency Crown Center in 1987. The road to salvation is straight and narrow, while the road to hell is wide, as many humps and crooked bends. Engineers will sooner or later succumb to the challenges in his or her environment and adapt to shortcuts. There is no other way. Shortcuts and ratchet work in engineering always leads to disaster and mayhem. Lives are a top priority when coming to engineering. Loss of life, damaged reputation, public trust, cost, and damaged families. As engineers, sustainable principles are key in our career, building your character and professionalism. Many engineers succumb to challenges in their environment, from fraudulent checks, cutbacks to save with cheaper material, and halfway checks on mechanical machinery, cause the money is not sufficient, each leading to disaster or a shortened performance of an efficient product. All from weak ethics and sustainable principles.